Every time I fly this drone, I fall in love with it. This thing is like just so much fun to fly, but it's also, since it has the naked GoPro on it, it's like I have to make sure I don't crash, like, at all. So even just flying like 10 feet off the ground, it's detrimental if you crash. So it's like it's scary because like like I want to use it like it's all dusty and shit. Look at the grommets, the rubber grommets. Every time I fly it, I'm like extremely careful with it because I was just flying it over by the skate park, but I was trying to make sure that I stayed really low, like within a foot off of the ground, in case I did drop it, less likely to damage the GoPro. That's like one bad thing, is you have to make sure that there's no wind, and you don't have any distractions or anything like that, because if you go down, chances are you are like more than likely you're gonna crack at least the screen, probably an ND filter, and that's the only screen you have. Which, I mean, I guess you don't really need the screen because you don't use it for anything. So I'm not even sure why they even left the screen on these if it's not in use for anything. Because everything, all the control is from your phone, through a QR code, through an app, the GoPro Quick app. You just connect it to like you would any other GoPro to your phone, and then you set the settings in your phone instead of on this. The only buttons this has is record and power, which I'm not even sure what the power button is for. I've never tried it, so I don't know if you do have it plugged into the battery and you press the power button, if it'll turn it off or not. But I love this quad. I love this camera. This thing is just so much fun to fly, and it's so locked in and stable. It's a totally different flyer. Like, I'm not just saying that to build up GepRC. I don't know how any of the other brands of these little 2-inches are, but this one, even though it is very, very heavy for being a 2-inch, it's way overweight. I think it's a little over 250 grams actually. I think this one's actually like literally like 2 or 3 grams over that limit. But yeah, I love this thing. I can't wait to put it to work and do some jobs with it. I'm supposed to have some real estate gigs coming up, so it's going to be a perfect opportunity to test this thing out. So I'm going to have to get at least like 6 more packs for it. I only have 4 right now. I have 2 650s and then 2 850s, both 4S. That's one thing that I will say about the 2-inch, at least. I'm not sure about the 2.5 or the 3-inch or the 3.5. I would assume that the 3-inch and the 3.5 probably are really efficient compared to this. This is not. With 650 batteries, light cruise, you're gonna get like 2 to 3 minutes. With the 850 battery, you might get 4.5 minutes, but I don't see you getting even 5 minutes, which is kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have seen at least 5-minute flight times with a whoop, because whoops, you're typically not doing freestyle with them anyways, at least not these kinds of whoops. So I kind of expected with the 850 mod to get at least like 5 minutes. I was hoping like 6 or 7, but no. Some folks were talking about they were getting with like 750 mods like 5 to 6 minutes, and I just don't see that. I don't see that being realistic, or and maybe people have some videos out there with proof of that, but like from my experience, although I will say maybe it is the batteries that I have. I'm using a bunch of cheap batteries, but they all are brand new. They've literally had maybe 1 to 3 cycles, if that. I haven't flown this quad very much. Maybe done like 8 to 10 flights out of it total, and most of those flights were only like for 2 or 3 minutes. So I've been making sure that I'm taking care of the batteries and not draining them down past 3.6 or 3.7 per volt, or per cell, sorry. So, but man, yeah, this is the thing with the 2-inch. Since it is underpowered or a little heavy for its size, I think that it has a purpose, but it's a very very specific, very niche thing. So I would recommend, if you were somebody who does a lot of gigs and stuff, to have one of these as well as maybe a 3-inch or a 3.5-inch. The 3.5-inch starts getting big enough to where by the time you have the frame on it with the ducts, it's almost as big as a 5-inch. Obviously not the propellers, but like the entire quad frame is what I mean. So they're pretty big. A 3-inch is even big compared to this, and a 3.5-inch is even bigger than that. But I can guarantee you that 3.5-inch flies the best, hands down, and is the most efficient, and is the lightest for as far as power to weight ratio goes. This one does not have a great power to weight ratio, but don't let that fool you. It is still very useful, very fun, and flies great. It's locked in and very, very smooth and controlled. That's probably like the coolest part about it, is it almost feels like it has like altitude hold, because like, well, I mean, it's up to you and your throttle control and how good you are with that, but like it's so smooth that you could keep it at this, this like what feels like locked in to the same altitude, barely, by moving the sticks at all, only adjusting for your amp draw as the battery sags down lower, because it's getting used. So you do have to adjust that a little bit. But man, this thing, it's a whole different drone, and it really is really fun to fly. And if you don't already have one, I'm going to recommend this one, because this is the only one that I have. I have a Cinelog, a 3-inch Cinelog, but it's like one of the original Squirt V2s with the actual ducts. They're very loud. That's why I don't like them. These are still loud for what they are, but not nearly as loud, and it's much smaller, much lighter, and can still carry a GoPro. So it that's where this one shines, being like the smallest. And since it's the smallest, you can go through much smaller gaps and areas with it. And that's what I would say about the 2-inch over even a 2.5-inch, is with the 2.5-inch you might gain a little bit more performance because of that extra 1/2 inch on the propellers, but it is going to be slightly bigger, so you're not going to be able to get as tight a gaps or smaller spaces as you would with this one, but still probably as tight in as small areas as you would ever need, especially if you're doing indoor real estate or anything like that. This or a 2.5-inch, I would probably recommend the 2.5-inch over this, because I just know from experience that it's going to have better performance, and it might even get you might even get an extra minute or two off the same batteries, because of the bigger prop. Yeah, I love this thing. GepRC, this is called the Cinelog20, and the reason why they said 20 is because for the 2 inches, every model that they make, the number stands for the size of propeller that it is spinning. So this is the Cinelog20. They have a Cinelog25, which is the 2.5-inch, and they have a Cinelog3, which is the 3-inch, and then they have a Cinelog35, which is the 3.5-inch. GepRC makes great stuff. A friend of mine / follower, fan, I mean, really, I'd just call him a friend more than anything. He donated this to me, and when I opened it up, just like looking at the build quality and everything, I mean, dude, it looks really well made and really well done and really well thought out as far as how everything goes together. I will say this, to work on it and stuff might be, compared to like 5 inches where they're just so much more modular and quicker to open up and work on. This one might be a little bit more of a pain. One, because it's so much smaller, but two, because of the, how do you put it? The non-traditional way of how they have everything mounted in here. This is using like a Whoop style Alden one, but they have it turned 90 degrees like a 20 by 20 or a 30 by 30 sits, instead of how a 25.5 by 25.5 Whoop AIO traditionally sits, like a diamond. And then on top of that, then they have this is the analog version, and they have the analog VTX mounted in the diamond orientation. So a little strange, not, I mean, that's not gonna affect any of the performance or anything like that, but it's just, it's interesting to see how differently they put it all together and fit everything inside of this frame. Yeah, just sorry, this was way longer than it was supposed to be. It's just supposed to be quick. Hey, this thing is fun. I recommend it. But I'll drop a link to GepRC's site and this quad in the description below, so look for that. Peace.